Welcome to our tutorial about data inspection. We talked about this earlier on. A data inspection function checks what kind of data we're dealing with, and it also tells us what kind of data it can be converted to. Let's begin by writing a small program. I'm going to copy the variable result to my cache so I can easily paste it. Let's paste it here. Now space, equals sign, variable a, space, plus, space, 5. So there's our syntax. Let's initialize variable a with a value of 5. Let's go over what's happened here. I've declared variable a as a string. I initialized it with a value, 5. The variable result is also a string. In the next line, the result equals a plus 5. So in a nutshell, a string will be added to a numeric literal. The result will be displayed as a string. This sounds kind of problematic. Let's see if Visual Basic can handle this. We'll click OK to run the rule. Yes, Visual Basic was able to execute the code. What Visual Basic did was convert the string to the numeric data type, perform the math operation, and then convert it back to a string. So this is a very simple example. But there are many circumstances when you would need to use such a script. So let's say you need your user to input data into a field in a certain format. Let's say your user makes a mistake and enters data in an incorrect format. You want your script to be able to determine this, run a routine, and let the user know that he or she needs to correct his or her mistake. The first step is to determine which type of data we're dealing with. Let's comment this line out. The first function we've got here is date. Okay, let's type in a date. Let's say 5/6/2000. Now let's say this date is in the wrong format. Let's run it through our date function to see what happens. Click OK, our value returns as true. So that tells me this string can be converted into a valid date. Click OK, and let's get back to our code. By the way, the variable result receives a Boolean value, but as you can see, the result was declared as a string. Let me comment out my first line of code and uncomment the second line. The next function to check is if the variable holds any value. We use isNothing. When we click OK, the function returns a value of false. Let's initialize our variable with an empty string to see what happens. Click OK. Once again, the value returned is false. Since the variable is initialized, the return value is false. Let's comment this part of the code out and run the code again. Now our result is true. And let's remove the comment. So here I've initialized variable a with an empty string. In the next line, we see that a equals nothing. Let's run the program, and the function returns a value of true. What's happened here? When we initialized the variable, part of your computer's memory was reserved or allocated to that variable. But when we assign the variable to nothing, we break the link between the variable and the allocated memory. As a result, the variable a no longer refers to anything. Let's comment out this line. The next function that I'm going to take a look at is called isNumeric. And I'll just bring that up. Let's replace the argument with the variable a. Initialize the variable a. 5. Let's run our program. The return value is true. So even though variable a is declared as a string, Visual Basic recognizes this string can be converted to a numeric value. Let's change our value to text and run the code again. Now the return value is false. So the function we entered realized that the text we'd put in can't be converted into a number. The last function I'm going to take a look at here is called var type. Just uncomment this line of code. This function returns an integer value that represents the data type classification. So an integer data type is represented by the number 2, long is 3, single is 4, and so on. Here I've got an argument that's formatted as a date. Let's run our program. The return value is 7, which, as you can see from my list here, is the date data type. Let's click OK and try another example. Let's enter a numeric value this time. Run the program again. Now the function returns a value of 3. 3 refers to the long data type. Let's click OK and get back to our code. This time I'll enter a fractional number, say 5.5. Run our program. The return value is 5. This refers to the double data type. Let's click OK and do a last example. I'm going to replace the numeric literal with a variable here. Let's enter some numbers, say 55. And let's run our program. The return value is 8, which refers to the string data type. And this concludes our tutorial about data inspection functions.